Hello, and welcome to Boring Stories for Sleep. Tonight, our story is not about ancient empires or forgotten battlefields. It is about something more modern, more precise. It is a story about locks and keys, about secrets and the desire to keep them, and the equal and opposite desire to uncover them. It is a place where immense fortunes are traded daily, and where the need to protect that wealth has given rise to legendary feats of security engineering. Our story centers on one such place, the Antwerp Diamond Center, and its vault, a fortress of steel and technology believed to be utterly impenetrable. It is a story about a room, deep beneath the ground, designed to be the most secure place on Earth. You are Leonardo Notarbartolo, and you are about to attempt the impossible. The streets of Antwerp's Diamond District are quiet and empty, surrendered to the cold winter night. First, the outer doors, then the private elevator, and finally, you stand before the vault door itself. It is a masterpiece of security, protected by a symphony of electronic guardians. To defeat it, you must become a ghost. Perhaps you use a thin styrofoam shield to block your body's heat signature, or you have coated yourself in a substance to cool your skin. You move at a glacial pace, your breathing slow and measured, a single deliberate step at a time. Before you lies a room filled with 160 safety deposit boxes, each containing a small fortune in diamonds, gold and jewels, and in the quiet, 2 floors beneath the sleeping city, you prepare for the silent retreat, your task complete. The final stage begins. Your team uses a specially designed tool, a small, powerful pulling device, to snap the locks on each box one by one. The sound is a quiet, repetitive snap, a rhythmic, almost meditative work in the oppressive silence of the vault. The tension is a silent, intellectual pressure, not a frantic panic. It is a game of patience against an unblinking electronic eye. But for you, the night's work is just beginning. Any disturbance, any unregistered piece of metal coming too close, would trigger an alarm that would bring the police in minutes. But you are not guessing. To try and guess would be futile. Years of painstaking reconnaissance, of posing as a merchant, of studying every detail, have given you the key. Perhaps a tiny camera, installed months ago, captured the combination as it was used. There are no frantic twists, only the slow, deliberate turning of the wheel. Perhaps you found another, more subtle vulnerability in the system. With a quiet confidence, you approach the dial. There is no room for haste. Click, click, click. The tumblers align. The final key turns. But you are prepared. You have constructed a custom shield of aluminum, which you carefully put in place. Its design calculated to neutralize the magnetic field, rendering it blind. A calm, steady hand is required. Tonight, we will explore the story of the silent, audacious, and meticulously planned breach of that very vault. You and your team, a hand-picked group of specialists known as the School of Turin, move with a quiet confidence that has been earned through years of preparation. Your team has a solution for this as well. A specially made box, perhaps filled with silicone or another absorbent material, is carefully placed over the sensor. The microwaves are absorbed. The sensor's shout into the darkness is never heard, and you are free to move. You are inside the Antwerp Diamond Center. The building is a fortress, and its heart, the vault, lies 2 floors beneath the sleeping city. A story of patience, planning, and the quiet defeat of the undefeatable. We travel to the city of Antwerp in Belgium, the diamond capital of the world. There is no need to follow every detail, no puzzle to solve. Your only task is to breathe, to relax, and to allow the calm, steady rhythm of the narrative to guide you gently towards sleep. But history often teaches us that no lock is perfect, and no secret is safe forever. So, I invite you now to settle in. Let the noise of the world outside fade away. Imagine yourself now. The year is 2003. The month is February. It is designed to sense the warmth of a human body. You are not a common thief. You are a planner, a student of systems, and tonight is your final exam. A motion sensor that floods the space with microwaves, sensing any movement, no matter how slight. A marvel of mechanical engineering with a dual key system and a combination dial. There are over 100 million possible combinations. The journey to the vault is a journey through layers of security, each designed to be a final, insurmountable obstacle. Your first challenge is the magnetic field that protects the hinges and the locking mechanism. With the magnetic field bypassed, the next layer reveals itself, a passive infrared heat detector. Next, the Doppler radar. Finally, you face the door itself. The lock, the great door, thick and heavy, swings open with a soft sigh of defeated mechanics. The bags begin to fill. The work is done. The impenetrable has been penetrated. To understand how a team of men could find themselves standing in a silent, defeated vault, 2 floors beneath the city of Antwerp, we must step back from the tension of the act itself. We must look at the years of patience that preceded it, and at the man who orchestrated every detail. We must examine the life of Leonardo Notarbartolo. He presented himself as a modest jeweler and businessman from Turin, Italy, a man who moved in the world of gems and precious metals as a merchant, not a thief. He was charismatic, personable, and cultivated an air of slightly bumbling friendliness that put people at ease. But behind this carefully constructed facade was a mind that had been honed by a lifetime of crime. With his legitimate access, he could observe the building's routines from the inside. Notarbartolo began to assemble his team, a group of specialists he trusted. Known colloquially as the School of Turin, there was the heavy lifter, known as the monster, whose role was to handle the physical demands of breaking through any unforeseen barriers. Another was the most agile of the group, a man nicknamed Speedy, who would be the one to physically bypass the light and heat sensors with delicate, precise movements. Each man was a professional, a quiet expert in a dark art. This was not a gang of hired thugs, but a crew of masters in their respective illicit fields. He had cultivated the trust of the institution, mapped its defenses, and assembled a team of experts to dismantle them. The long, slow, and deliberate process of planning was complete. The stage, so carefully set over thousands of quiet, ordinary days, was now ready for the one extraordinary night we have already witnessed. Each member was chosen for a specific skill set, like a surgical team being assembled for a complex operation. He noted the timing of guard patrols, the placement of security cameras, and the procedures for accessing the vault area. He carried a small camera disguised as a pen and would take hundreds of photographs, documenting every angle, every sensor, every potential vulnerability. He mapped the building not with a surveyor's tools, but with his own patient observation, his mind slowly assembling a detailed, 3-dimensional model of the fortress he intended to breach. His was not a career of violence or intimidation, but of subtlety, charm, and a deep understanding of systems both social and electronic. From the outside, Notarbartolo was a man of unassuming legitimacy. It began with Notarbartolo deciding to become part of the very world he intended to plunder. He would arrive at the building each day, nod a friendly hello to the security guards, and spend his hours in his small office. He conducted minor, real transactions to maintain his cover, buying and selling small parcels of gems. He became a familiar, unremarkable face in the daily life of the center. He was just another merchant, lost in the sea of hundreds who passed through the doors each day. He rented a small office within the Antwerp Diamond Center itself, establishing a seemingly legitimate import-export business. This single act was the cornerstone of his entire strategy. The plan for the Antwerp heist did not begin with a blueprint or a sudden inspiration. It began with years of quiet, meticulous, and disciplined work. For more than 2 years, he played the part of the ordinary tenant. Imagine the rhythm of his life during this period. But this performance of normalcy was a cover for a relentless campaign of intelligence gathering. A plan of this magnitude could not be executed alone. There was the alarm specialist, a man nicknamed the Genius, who could understand and manipulate complex electronic systems. For years, Leonardo Notarbartolo had been a ghost hiding in plain sight, a predator studying his prey with infinite patience. In the days following the heist, a quiet confidence settled over Leonardo Notarbartolo and his team. They had achieved the impossible. The fortress had been breached, the diamonds were secured, and the team had melted away as silently as they had arrived, scattering across Europe. There were no leads, no witnesses, and no alarms had been triggered. In the world of high-stakes theft, it was a masterpiece, a ghost crime. The perfect heist was complete. The task of burning these incriminating items fell to one of Notarbartolo's partners. A single, fateful choice, born not of cunning, but of a simple human failing. He drove away, likely believing the rubbish would be lost forever in the anonymity of the Belgian countryside. But for reasons that remain unclear, perhaps a sudden bout of anxiety, perhaps simple overconfidence or carelessness, the man did not follow the plan. What he found was not what he expected. There were empty videotapes, torn open and unspooled. There were official envelopes bearing the logo of the Antwerp Diamond Center. It was the thread that would allow them to unravel the entire operation. Sifting through the contents, they found receipts from local stores, business cards, and other items that began to build a digital and physical trail. The DNA from the saliva on the half-eaten sandwich would be traced back to Notarbartolo himself. The videotapes, though damaged, contained security footage from the Diamond Center's exterior, confirming the team's movements. There were disposable gloves, dusted with a fine, sparkling powder, and there was a half-eaten sandwich. Instead of finding a secure place to incinerate the evidence, he took a drive. Mr. Van Camp, realizing he had stumbled upon something far more significant than mere littering, immediately contacted the authorities. He drove out of the city of Antwerp and onto a quiet motorway, looking for a place to simply get rid of the bags. The perfect crime had met its imperfect end, not with a bang, but with the quiet discovery of discarded refuse in a damp Belgian wood. Or so it seemed. The greatest plans, no matter how precise, are still subject to the unpredictable nature of human error. The undoing of this multi-million-dollar masterpiece did not come from a brilliant feat of detective work, nor a high-tech tracking system. It came from a simple bag of garbage. The plan had called for the meticulous destruction of all evidence: the tools, the plans, the clothing worn during the heist. He pulled over and tossed the evidence into a dense, wooded thicket by the side of the road. It was not. The patch of woods where the garbage was dumped happened to be on the property of a local man, an older retired individual named August Van Camp. He was a man who knew his land, and when he noticed the illegally dumped trash during a walk, he was annoyed. Thinking it was the work of local teenagers, his intention was simply to find a name or an address amongst the refuse to report the litterer to the police. Imagine him now, poking through the damp contents of the black bag. The news of the great diamond heist had, by now, spread across all of Belgium. For the Belgian police, who had been facing a crime scene with almost no clues, this bag of garbage was a revelation. The fortress had been breached by meticulous planning, but the planners themselves were brought down by a simple sandwich and a forgotten bag of garbage. The trail of evidence leading from a discarded bag of refuse in a Belgian wood was now clear and direct. The DNA from the half-eaten sandwich, the fingerprints on the discarded tapes, and the paper trail from receipts all pointed to one man, the charming Italian jeweler, Leonardo Notarbartolo. The international manhunt that followed was extensive, but for a man whose meticulous plan was so thoroughly compromised by a simple error, the end was inevitable. Notarbartolo was arrested, and the mastermind behind the heist of the century was brought to face justice. The trial was a sensation, but the evidence was overwhelming. Notarbartolo was convicted and sentenced to 10 years in prison for orchestrating the crime. Some of his accomplices were also identified and served sentences. The Antwerp Diamond Center vault was meant to be the standard-bearer for security, a place beyond reproach. It is a story of a crime that was both a spectacular success and a complete failure. It shows how even the most complex, formidable systems can be vulnerable to the most mundane of flaws. It is the story of a man who managed to defeat a fortress of technology, only to be defeated himself by a piece of garbage. Here, in the stillness of your room, there are no locks to be picked, no secrets to be kept. The world of high-stakes heists is a distant, silent film. Its defeat sent shockwaves through the global security and insurance industries. Let the story fade. Let the diamonds scatter into dreams. All that is left now is the quiet. All that is left is to rest. A complete re-evaluation of what was considered impenetrable took place. New technologies and protocols were developed, all in response to the quiet, patient work of one man and his team. The heist, in its own way, permanently changed the very industry it had targeted. During his trial and in the years that followed, Notarbartolo maintained a calculated silence on certain key details. He refused to name his entire team, and most importantly, he never revealed the location of the vast majority of the stolen goods. The $100 million prize simply vanished. Justice, it seemed, had been served. He alleged that they had been hired to break into the vault, and that most of the loot had already been removed from the deposit boxes by the owners themselves. A story about a crime so perfect in its execution, yet so flawed in its aftermath. The fact that the diamonds were never recovered fueled speculation for years. Are they hidden in a vault somewhere in Italy? Were they recut and slowly sold back into the anonymous global diamond market? Or were they simply lost forever? The unanswered questions allowed the heist to transcend from a simple crime into a modern folklore, a tale of a legendary hidden treasure. He claimed the actual value they stole was a fraction of the official estimate. This version of events, however, has never been proven and is viewed by many as an attempt by a convicted mastermind to muddy the waters and reclaim control of his own narrative. But the story did not end with the closing of a prison cell door. In a strange twist, Notarbartolo himself would later claim that the heist was part of a much larger conspiracy, an elaborate insurance fraud. And so, the legend of the Antwerp heist grew. The impact of the breach was felt far beyond the courtroom. The story of the Antwerp Diamond heist is a story of profound contradictions. It is a tale of genius-level planning undone by the simplest human error. It serves as a quiet reminder of the perennial conflict between our desire for perfect security and the endless ingenuity of the human mind. But the glitter of those lost diamonds and the quiet intrigue of that empty vault belong to a story of the past. The mystery of the missing diamonds remains, but it is not yours to solve tonight. Sleep now.